In Peru, indigenous and social organizations mobilized from different provinces to Lima as they joined protesters demanding the resignation of Dina Boluarte. In Venezuela, the Public Prosecutor's Office issued a new arrest warrant for opposition leaders and fugitive from justice Julio Borges. And the United Nations demanded the release of 50 women abducted in the north of Burkina Faso. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Peru, members of the Aymara and Quechua communities, as well as social organizations, are mobilizing from different provinces to Lima as part of the second edition of the so-called March of the Four Suyos to demand the resignation of Dina Boluarte. Also, the representatives of the Aymara people communicated they will travel to Lima this Monday and indicated that they will stay until the president, Dina Boluarte, resigns. Social and union organizations are also heading in caravans from different provinces of the country to the capital to support the protests against the Boluarte government. The demonstrators are also demanding the closing of Congress, a constituent assembly, the release of Pedro Castillo, who has been detained since December 7, 2022. The first March of the Four Suyos, four main groups of indigenous groups, was a popular mobilization carried out in Peru in July 2000 against Alberto Fujimori's illegal maneuvers to re-elect himself. The Venezuelan Public Prosecutor's Office issued a new arrest warrant for opposition leader and fugitive from justice Julio Borges for the crimes of treason and conspiracy. Venezuela's Attorney General Tarek William Saab explained that the new arrest warrant against Julio Borges is linked to his participation in the failed coup attempt carried out by the extreme right wing on April 30, 2019. Tarek William Saab added that Borges' involvement in the planning of these destabilizing actions was confirmed by the also fugitive from justice Leopoldo Lopez in an audiovisual material. According to authorities, with this action, the extreme right wing intended to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro and the Venezuelan people. Colombian authorities announced the arrest of two brothers in charge of the logistics in the deadly shooting in which a Paraguayan prosecutor vacationing in Colombia was murdered last year. During a press statement, Francisco Barbosa, Attorney General of Colombia, identified the arrested brothers as Andrés Felipe and Ramón Emilio Pérez Hoyos. He also added that the prosecutor's office had documents, clothes, and a vehicle, among other elements, confirming that the arrested individuals coordinated the execution of the crime and met with people who directly participated in the incident. Paraguay's prosecutor Marcelo Pesci of organized crime and drug trafficking cases was killed on May 10, 2022 by gunmen in Baru Beach in Cartagena de Indias as he honeymooned with his wife. Trade unions and human rights groups in Argentina mobilized Monday to demand the release of social leader Milagro Sala, who has been under house arrest for the last 7 years. Argentina's social movements will meet at the headquarters of the State Workers Association in the city of Buenos Aires. The Assembly for Human Rights President with Governor Gerardo Morales to carry out illegal actions against Sala. The social leader was arrested in 2016 for alleged incitement to violence after leading a protest in Jujuy against the changes imposed by Morales in the cooperative program. Since then, she has been under house arrest. Sala said her detention sought to silence the Tupac Amaru movement. In El Salvador, events continues to commemorate the 31st anniversary of the signing of the peace accords that put an end to a prolonged military dictatorship and a 12-year war. On Monday, an act of remembrance will take place at the Christ of Peace, the Farabundo Martí Front for National Liberation, which forced the military and the right-wing oligarchs to sit down to negotiate the compromise that put an end to the hostilities and marked a before and after in the history of the country. There will also be a pronouncement by the Legislative Assembly that a year ago changed the celebration of the achievement and now is pronouncing to celebrate the Day of Armed Conflict Victims, These events are a continuation of those held on Sunday, when civil society organizations and the general population held marches in which also denounced what they consider a setback in the country under the government of President Nayib Bukele. El Salvador's civil protection system issued a red alert in 2 municipalities in the western part of the country after more than 200 tremors were registered since Sunday night. No deaths have been reported. The system activated Monday an emergency plan following a 5.1 magnitude earthquake in the municipality of San Lorenzo in the Aguachapan department. The quake was followed by more than 200 aftershocks, causing damage to more than 100 homes, as well as landslides on the road leading to the Las Chinamas border crossing with Guatemala. The Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources said that seismic activity in the area continues, adding that it was caused by geological faults in the region and not related with volcanic activity. In the Bolivian territory, multiple municipalities have registered several meteorological events since the beginning of 2023, including heavy rains and droughts. The Vice Minister of Civil Defense of the state, Juan Carlos Calvi Montes, reported that the situation has affected 12 municipalities, affecting crops. Local media reported that the drought phenomenon is directly affecting the municipality of Chaco, the rains in the east and part of the center. In the southern department of Tajira and the department of Santa Cruz, 3,000 hectares of soybeans were affected. The Bolivian authority indicated that the material losses have not yet been quantified. Let us take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In the United States, a shooting leaves at least 6 people dead in the city of Visalia in the state of California. According to local media, among the victims are a 17-year-old woman and a 6-month-old baby. Police authorities report that the first evidence indicates that the shooting was not a random act, but a planned act against the affected family. They also detailed that the denunciations were received around 3:30 a.m. this Monday, January 6 local time, while the attack was still in progress. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting 2023 began this Monday in Davos, Switzerland. The event, to take place from January 16th to the 20th, brings together leaders from government, business, and civil society to address the state of the world and discuss priorities for the year ahead. Established in 1971 by the German economist Klaus Schwab, the meeting was originally known as the European Management Forum until a name change in 1987. The theme this year is Cooperation in a Fragmented World. In the United Kingdom, Scottish teachers have taken to the streets demanding a salary increase in line with inflation. Scottish teachers from 32 counties gathered in Glasgow for a day of protest. Teachers said the walkouts will last until February 6th. Meanwhile, schools in Glasgow remain closed. The Educational Institute of Scotland has confirmed an additional 2 days of strikes in all schools and sectors on February 28th and March 4th, followed by a rolling program of strikes for 20 days between March 13th and April 21st. Authorities had submitted a proposed 5% salary increase to the teachers' union, which they rejected 6 months ago, and little or no progress has been made in negotiations since. Teachers are demanding a 10% increase, which the Scottish government claims they cannot afford. Christine Lambrecht has resigned as Germany's defense minister following a series of mistakes and a much criticized New Year's Eve message. Lambrecht's year in office became a succession of minor scandals and statements that many saw as tone deaf. Her resignation came as Berlin gets under rising pressure to allow the delivery of German-built battle tanks to Ukraine. The former defense minister was mocked by her announcement that her country was supporting Ukraine by sending 5,000 military helmets. She was also widely criticized for failing to improve Germany's notoriously equipped armed forces. Italian actor Gina Lolo Brigida, who achieved international film stardom during the 1950s, died in Rome on Monday at the age of 95. Often described as the most beautiful woman in the world, her films included Beat the Devil, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Cross Swords. She co-starred alongside the likes of Humphrey Bogart, Frank Sinatra, Rock Hudson, and Errol Flynn. According to Italian news agency La Presse, Lolo Brigida died in a clinic in Rome. However, no cause of death has been cited. In September, she had surgery to repair a thigh bone broken in a fall, but she recovered and competed for a Senate seat in Italy's elections held last year in September, though she did not win. The Ukrainian Armed Forces launched 3 shells from a multiple rocket launcher into Donetsk city on Monday. Andrei Baevsky, an officer from the Donetsk People's Militia and a member of the local parliament, stated in an interview with local media that 2 people were killed and 4 injured in the attack. The official also added that emergency services continued to work at the scene. Meanwhile, the city's mayor Alexei Kulemtsin confirmed damages at a shopping mall, 2 residential buildings, a mechanic shop, a fixed route cab, and a distillery. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, confirmed the organization will establish a continuous presence to oversight Ukraine's nuclear power plants. The IAEA Director General added the presence will include security experts at all of Kiev's nuclear plants to help prevent a nuclear accident during the ongoing conflict. Last week, the UN International Organization said its teams will deploy to the 4 Ukrainian nuclear facilities, the Khmelnytsky, Rivne, and South Ukraine nuclear power plants, as well as the Chernobyl site. They added the most difficult part of the security mission may be embedding a team permanently at the Zaporizhzhia plant, saying negotiating a safe zone around it has been challenging because of the proximity of the fighting. Ukraine and the European Union signed a memorandum of understanding and a loan agreement on macro-financial assistance for $19 billion. The signing took place between Ukraine's Minister of Finance Serhiy Marchenko, the Governor of the National Bank of Ukraine Andriy Spichnyi, on Kiev's behalf, and by Executive Vice President of the European Commission Valdis Dombrovskis on behalf of the EU. In the meantime, Ukraine Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal announced they expect to receive the first $3 billion aid package this week. He expressed his gratitude to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the Vice President of the European Commission, Valdis Dombrovskis. We have more news coming up after a farm short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang wrapped up his African tour in Egypt with meetings with Egypt's president and with the Secretary General of the Arab League. The meeting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and with Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry took place Sunday in Cairo, and it aimed at further deepening cooperation between the 2 countries and to strengthening bilateral ties. The meeting was followed by a joint press conference in which the Chinese Foreign Minister urged Israel to stop incitement and provocations and to refrain from taking unilateral actions that could worsen the situation. Qin also met Sunday with Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Gheit, who restated willingness to continue mutual cooperation projects in all fields. In Nepal, authorities on Monday resumed search and rescue efforts to recover the 4 remaining bodies after the crash of a plane with 72 people on board in the district director of Kaski. After days of rescue workers battling cloudy weather and poor visibility to find the passengers in a 300-meter deep gorge, the search was suspended on Monday. However, they say that the rescue efforts will continue this Tuesday. According to the Civil Aviation Association of Nepal, 68 bodies were recovered and 41 identified. They are being handed over to their families in Pokhara. A forensic team is working at the crash site, and a helicopter has been arranged to take the bodies to Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. In Burkina Faso, the United Nations demanded the release of 50 women abducted in the north of the country. Through a press release, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, informed that the 50 women were kidnapped on Thursday and Friday by armed men while they were searching for wild fruits in two localities north and west of the city of Arbenda. In this sense, the Burkinabe police pointed out that they started search and rescue operations to find all the victims. It should be noted that the West African country has been facing increasing attacks by armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State since 2015. South African President and leader of the National African Union, Cyril Ramaphosa, has cancelled his trip to Davos for the World Economic Forum. The announcement was made by presidential spokesman Vincent Magwenya on Sunday. The current energy crisis in South Africa due to its aging coal power infrastructure has brought on record blackouts of up to 12 hours due to troubles at the Eskom state-owned power utility over the past 12 months. Ramaphosa was due to lead a government delegation to the World Economic Forum in the Swiss Alps next week, but will instead remain home to hold talks with Eskom executives and political leaders. The outages have cost the country hundreds of millions of dollars in lost output, disrupting commerce and industry and angering the population. At least 10 people were killed and 39 wounded Sunday in a bomb attack on a church in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Islamic State claimed the attack. Congolese military spokesman Anthony Moualzouyashi said the terrorist act happened in a Pentecostal church in North Kivu province's Kasindi, a town on the border with Uganda. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's communications ministry said on social media that the attack was apparently carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces, which the Islamic State group claims as its affiliate in Central Africa. The ADF is one of the deadliest of the more than 120 armed groups in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, many of them the legacy of regional wars that flared at the turn of the century in a vast, impoverished nation. A collision between a bus and a truck killed 19 people and injured another 25 in Senegal on Monday. A week earlier, new road safety measures regulating passenger and cargo transportation had been issued, which have not been well received by transporters. The measures followed a major accident, the collision of two buses that killed over 40 people. Road accidents officially kill 700 people each year in Senegal, a country of more than 17 million people. In 2019, Senegal had a road death rate of 24 per 100,000 inhabitants. Sub-Saharan Africa has a 27 per 100,000 rate, whereas the figure stands at 6 in the European Union and 2 in Switzerland, according to the World Bank. Israeli human rights organizations B'Tselem has warned about the collapse of the health system in the Gaza Strip due to the blockade implemented by Israel since 2007. The organization reports that thousands of Palestinian patients are forced to apply for permits to access hospitals either in the West Bank, Jerusalem, Israel, or in other countries, and that only a fraction received the authorization. They say that Israeli authorities obstruct that possibility through various arbitrary procedures. According to data from the World Health Organization, in 2021, more than 15,400 people in Gaza submitted requests for treatment abroad, but only 2,165 were authorized. That is 14% of the total. We have come to the end of this news brief, and you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.